The Monaco Grand Prix is arguably the most famous race in the world. It's been the home of the rich and famous for longer than we know, and very often you hear people talk about the fact that the circuit hasn't changed at all over the years. But this opportunity to walk the course has actually meant that we can look at some of the changes that have happened. Monaco and Monte Carlo, which is a town within the sovereign state, has been the playground for the rich and famous for many years. But the first race in 1929, on the 14th of April, saw the cars, mainly Bugattis, it would have to be said, rushing around very much the same circuit we see now, even though the tram lines have disappeared. That first race, mainly Bugattis, but with a few Alfa Romeos thrown in as well, started on exactly the same spot as the cars start now. We only saw a slight difference with the cars running from a start line on the quayside from 1950 to 1962, where following an accident to a marshal, the start line was returned to its original spot. The first corner that the cars come to is Saint-Devote, a very fast right-hander, and it's only actually if you went straight on at this corner that you would come to the beautiful church of Saint-Devote, named after the patron saint of Monte Carlo. That fast right-hander saw the many accidents over the years, and it was in fact in 1976 that we saw the corner tightened to the corner used today. The dash up Beau Rivage is very much tighter and very much steeper than you would think from watching it on television, and the designer shops on the driver's left are very much something that the populace of Monte Carlo will visit very regularly. Not so for Rudolph Caracciola, having his troubles in 1936 with the Auto Union, nor 75 years later Lewis Hamilton on exactly the same spot, and there's history for you. The cars then dash into probably one of the most photographed parts of any Grand Prix circuit in the world, Casino Square. Beautiful, atmospheric, everything that you would expect it to be. But for the other few weeks of the year, then it's not quite the same thing, and that Fangio here, crossing what would later become a zebra crossing, Gilles Villeneuve actually crossing the zebra crossing, is certainly wouldn't have been thinking about that. A unique opportunity to look at two photographs of Keke Rosberg and Nico Rosberg on exactly the same spot on their way to their respective race wins. The race circuit goes to the left of the roundabout, whereas the main road goes to the right in front of the casino, and then dashes downhill towards the Mirabeau corner, one of the first and only opportunities to overtake on this twisty and difficult circuit. Doesn't always work for everybody, as we can see here from a long-forgotten Formula 3 race, nor for Nico Rosberg in his qualifying debacle a few years ago. The hotel, called the Mirabeau, is actually named after a hero of the French Revolution who changed sides and became a confidant of the king later on. We then go down to the Station Hairpin, Lowe's Hairpin, Fairmont Hairpin, call it what you will, that originally the site of the station for Monte Carlo itself, now very much a Monaco hotel, the Fairmont Hotel, built in 1975. Meanwhile, the station has been moved further up the hill, and what a station it is. It could only be in Monaco. The hotel itself was extended out over the Mediterranean, and that saw a longer tunnel than had previously been happened, and that was built in 1975, so the old tunnel disappeared and a new one came about, the one that we know now. As the cars then went down, they went down to the chicane, originally a very quick piff-paff, and it has changed a little over the years. After Lorenzo Bandini's accident, it was moved much more towards Tabac, and then was moved back towards where it is now in 1972, with the tighter chicane built on reclaimed land in 1986. It's really as we go down to Tabac that we see the real significant changes, because there was a large amount of reclaimed land that happened, and that saw Tabac moved back towards the tunnel some 50 meters. And if you look at this photograph here, you can see the cars turning left, whereas Fangio in his 250F would be very much further towards the site of the start-finish line. And this accident in 1950 illustrates the point only too well, because those people in the grandstands there actually would be on the site of that accident. The start-finish line itself then came to play to the right of this row of trees that you can see here, whereas now what we have is that the circuit is really where those boats are moored on the far right-hand side of this picture. Looking towards a modern picture, what you can see is that the white roofs of the pits on the left-hand side of this picture are actually where the circuit used to be, and that they would turn sharp right at the end of that row of trees. So we can see the 1955 start here, and those cars would have been going away from us where we see the pit lane currently. And looking on pit in on the current circuit, that is exactly how it would have been a few seconds later in 1955. I've put this photograph in really just for 2 points. One is just to show how narrow this circuit is, because it is incredibly tight, and as Nelson Piquet said, it's like riding a bicycle around your bathroom. And that the other thing is that that's returned to being a pavement cafe very quickly afterwards. Part of the review in 1973 was that Rascasse became a new corner going very much further out towards the west of the circuit, and that brought a whole new side to the circuit, even tighter, even more difficult. And that's really something that we've had to deal with over the years. Cars then back onto the start-finish line and across the finish line with Jackie Stewart.